Hello, everyone. I am going to be calling the Groton Board of Education regular meeting June 22nd to order. It is 6:03 and it's June 27th, and I think I just said that. The first thing is the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mark, will you be doing a flag?
I don't have one ready, but let me look.
Okay.
quickly. You have one, Kate?
Okay.
Thanks.
Share it.
Okay. Thank you, Kate. Thank you.
Full screen, Kate.
That's good. We've got it. Thank you so much for finding that. Phil, would you be willing to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Phil. And thank you guys for finding the flag. I really appreciate that. The second order of business is the election of vice chair. With the vacancy, we also then had a vacancy within the vice chair. And I just think to follow Board of Ed policies, it's going to be really important to have a chair and a vice chair. And so at this time, I would entertain any nomination. Jay.
I would like to nominate Dr. Andrea Ackerman.
Can I have a second to that?
Second, Beverly.
Thank you, Beverly. All right. Ms. Joan,
Yes, ma'am.
do I vote? Do I call for a vote, or do I see if there's any other nominations? I should find out if there's any other nominations. Is that
Yes,
correct?
you should. Yes,
Okay.
you should.
Are there any other nominations from the floor? Okay, hearing none, I will close nominations. And is there any other, there's no more nominations, so I go right into a vote. All those in favor of Andrea or Dr. Andrea Ackerman for the vice chair, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? That motion has carried. And Dr. Ackerman, thank you very much for becoming the vice chair once again. And I look forward to our continued partnership. Thank you. All right. I believe, but I'm going to check in with Phil. Is there any recognition or participation of visitors?
No, not on our end.
Okay. All right. That moves us to the our comments from the community. And this is the portion of the agenda where the board welcomes comments from citizens. Each presentation should be limited to 5 minutes or less, and citizens should, if possible, submit written comments. Presentations should be related to matters pertinent to Groton. Board members will only ask questions in order to clarify the speaker's presentation and cannot respond during the comments of citizens portion of the board meeting. Citizens should state their names and addresses for the record. Ms. Joan, do you have anyone at this time knowing?
Nobody has contacted me.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Joan. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? All right, hearing none, I'm gonna be moving us down to number 6, which is the superintendent's. I believe we do not have any student reps, but Phil, or excuse me, Dr. Piazza, if we could make sure that there becomes a concerted effort that we have student reps for the board, that would be really helpful, I think.
Yeah, I know. I think we've mentioned that in the past too, about re-upping our efforts to make sure that there's representatives at each meeting.
Yep.
Next year.
Thank you. So, and for those on the board who don't know, Susan is taking a well-deserved break. And so actually, Dr. Piazza is going to be giving us the report. And I believe I had sent everyone on his request, the climate report.
All right, if Mark, if I could share my screen, am I able to do so? It
Yes,
looks
you
like
should
I am.
be.
Okay, let me just clean up my. Okay. Can everyone see that?
Yes, or I can.
Yes.
If you can, I'm assuming everyone can. So I'm going to present a summary of the data that we received from our school climate surveys. These were given to our parents, students, and staff. The school safe climate, the district safe school climate committee developed the survey. As always, in an effort to gather useful information on things we're doing well, and of course, point out some areas that we can improve upon. I've worked with Denise Doolittle and Tom Lonsdale to put this all together and to summarize it as clearly and as concisely as possible. The full survey will be made available to the board. This is sort of a summation of the data broken down into categories very similar to last year, if you remember. If you were here last year, we broke it down into categories of communication, safety, a feeling of belonging, diversity and respect, and we added on one for professional development as well this year. You'll notice the one you received were pie graphs with data on them. Over the weekend, I did add some quotes and comments from the surveys. We did this last year as well. I just tried to pull some that were representative of some of the comments that were made overall. Rest assured that all the comments were shared with the principals. They were given this data and this was reviewed with them at their end of year meeting, and will be the basis, will be a piece of the puzzle as they begin their year next year. One of my suggestions too is to, as we approach the fall, have the principals present so they could address some of the data that we're going to present tonight and possibly answer any questions that you have around the data specific to certain schools. Okay, let me move forward here. As I said, communication is always important. It's really the foundation of everything we do if we want to do it well. And it has been a priority since we've been back in terms of reestablishing that school and home relationships post-COVID. As buildings combined this year, we had mixed faculties. Communication was an important part of the work that the principals had to do there. We did establish the new communication subcommittee for the board this past March, whose focus is efforts to improve communication district-wide. So that's another piece of the puzzle that will hopefully improve things as we move forward. Internally, we have weekly principal meetings with the superintendent and myself. We have our websites and we established Facebook. We established our social media presence most recently as a way to help improve communication and get information out to our parents. And obviously we use district emails and monthly faculty meetings and department meetings as methods of internal communications. So there's always room for improvement. But again, we like to see, hopefully in this data, you'll see some of the good stuff as well. Parent communication on the elementary level, this is from the parent survey, is really outstanding, according to the survey. And I'm sorry, I don't have the numbers. I should have put those up somewhere of the responses. We did have a great response, and I will try to get those numbers and share those with the board. But we did have one that was definitely a nice representative percentage of the district. Here you can see, being kept up to date about school events and activities. And also the other piece is feeling comfortable. And if you can't see this, you can move around the squares on your screen by putting the cursor over them and moving them. I know some of it might be blocked, but I'll try to explain it as best I can. The graph on the right says, I feel comfortable talking to my child's teachers. And as you can see, the green, green means good. So both of these look pretty good. And the quotes that I listed, you see one in the bottom left that says the communication is outstanding with emails, phone calls, and emails from teachers. And one example at the bottom right, our daughter has had an extremely difficult time adjusting to being in the school for her first year. And this parent was very pleased with the entire staff, both teachers and administration, and how important that was to them in their daughter's transition. Secondary parents also seems very positive. Obviously, always want to improve. Results from the communication survey that I mentioned. I'm sorry, I didn't mention that. The communication subcommittee has also completed a survey as to how parents receive information and how they would like to receive information from the district and the schools. That's being compiled and disaggregated to the schools this summer. And again, we hope that will improve things as well. Here again on the left, I'm kept up to date about school events and activities. On the right, I feel comfortable talking to my child's teachers. That's promising even on the secondary level. As we know, as kids get older, they tend to want to handle things themselves, or parents release some of that responsibility to them. But we still want to maintain that relationship with parents. And the quotes again on the left, a positive one with positive interactions. On the right, that person would like to see improved communication with parents by teachers and administrators. And they also mentioned an opportunity for parent contact and feedback on a more ongoing basis. So we can definitely work on providing those opportunities for parents to have their voices heard. Elementary staff on the topic of, we do like I said, like to look internally as well within the buildings between admin and the teachers, and the comfort level teachers have to speak up and approach their admins when they have ideas, concerns, or issues. This is an area that, I think we all want to improve upon. And as staffs become more comfortable with their new buildings and new admin teams, we hope to see this improve. The one on the left talks about opportunities to communicate their thoughts. The one on the right is more about their own feelings as to whether or not they feel they can approach their building admin with concerns. The two quotes included, the one in the bottom left talks about a very caring and supportive environment, and how the admin does care about what the teachers think. And even the one on the top right talks a little bit more specifically about PPTs and how the principal has made sure that the teachers have a voice along with the rest of the participants within those PPTs. So again, overall very positive, but definitely some room for improvement there. And internally on the secondary level, this is definitely going to be an area of focus for the secondary level, the middle school and the high school. We'll be working with the admin teams to best address each building's areas of concern. Coming back into the buildings full time, like I said, communication was so important. And not just communication, but timely communication and clear communication as well, both internally and externally. We definitely want to see more green on these moving forward. We're going to be working with the admin team to develop goals around these areas specifically to make sure to make sure that the staff feels that they have the opportunities to share their ideas and have their voices heard. And again, you can see from the quotes, I'm sorry, I got to keep moving my squares around. In some areas, they feel that there's good avenues for communication where they can go to their department chairs or coordinators, and some schools have had focus group conversations. Sometimes they feel like things get brought up and then they don't get those responses back. So again, that's the timely communication that I was speaking of earlier. Again, the clarity of communication is identified as a problem with the quote on the bottom right-hand side. And so we want to see how we can improve in that area. As we look at the safety questions, these are a little tricky because it's, the questions, we've been trying to rewrite these questions to make them as clear as possible, but obviously safety means different things to different people. Some people view it as safety from just as in terms of the classic fire, and fire drill type safety. Others safety from COVID, others safety from teasing or mean behavior, or more, safe from school violence like fights, things like that. We have our social emotional learning programs in there for social emotional safety to help kids feel safe in that way. We obviously have our drills locked down and fire drills, for people's physical safety in the case of an emergency. Hopefully these surveys did help identify areas in the building where students feel most unsafe. And obviously, teachers' presence in the hallways, follow through with discipline, all these different factors help increase people's view of how safe they are in the buildings. We start with the elementary again, and the quote at the bottom is very positive. And again, the elementary students did not have a chance to have open comments. So that's a quote actually from a parent about how safe she feels her kids are. You could see the numbers on the left. This is how safe I feel in my classroom at school. And this is how safe I feel, on the right, that is the upper elementary. We did separate it from K1, 2 is early elementary and 3, 4, 5 is upper elementary. Again, this could, we really need to drill down a little bit more to find out what they mean by that. Talking with principals at their year-end meeting, many felt that these might have to do still with COVID. Others might be in response to some of the things that have been happening around the country around the time that this was distributed, could have influenced it. As well as teasing and mean behavior seem to be one of their concerns at the elementary level. So we'll take a deeper dive at that and make sure that kids feel safe and that they have somebody that they can go to as well. On the secondary level, again, same questions. I feel comfortable being in this school building. The question on the right deals with more social emotional support in terms of we asked the students, and I think this is a new question this year, about how often they go to their school counselor for emotional support. And the quote at the top right-hand side was from a student, I believe, asking for, they wish they could work closer with guidance in terms of checking in more often and communicating with them. So again, all this will be shared with the teams, and obviously we're working with the guidance counselors around this data. We want kids to make sure that they know all the adults in the building that they can reach out to. The quote at the bottom left even mentions the kids are overwhelmed with the amount of foot traffic in the stairwells. This is from a parent, who claims who said her daughter's a good student and does well in school, but the constant tension between students and the crowded stairwells are stressful for her. Again, returning after COVID, where kids were home by themselves and now returning to these larger buildings. This will definitely be something we talk about with the building administration in terms of how we're dismissing and what our schedule looks like and how crowded the hallways are as kids get more and more comfortable being back together and being in large crowds. I know even for me, just doing things I used to do normally, like go to concerts or go to places where large people are congregated, you do have that uneasy feeling, and it's something that might take a while to get over. But again, this is data that we can use to help make our kids feel safer in our buildings. in terms of elementary and secondary parents, their feelings about whether the schools are safe. The one on the left is elementary. The one on the right is our secondary. Again, coming from the parents. Most, as you can tell from the comments, are happy that the kids are back because they feel like being in person has really had a huge impact on their child's learning. The quote on the right I thought was really interesting that I wanted to share from a parent. The world's problems won't go away, but it tends to have a negative effect on mental health. Encouraging the building and the district to try to be more positive and communicate good news and events more, find ways to celebrate. At this young time in their life, school should be a happy experience, or at the very least, a diversion from all the negative news. I thought that was really interesting. And again, we're trying to do that with our social media presence, trying to sell. We've always done a great job in terms of trying to record all those special events and make those available to the public. And with social media, it gives us a chance to really share some pictures about all the great stuff that's going on in our school. So I like that comment. And again, we're trying to do more and more about sharing the good stuff with the public as well. But it was nice to see all of that green, in terms of the parents' perspective about how safe the schools are. Now the safety, this is internally again, elementary and secondary staff. Obviously you see a difference here. The elementary staff, just about 95% feel that their building is safe. On the right, middle and high school, there's a little bit more red there. The comment from one of the staff members, it appears that there are no rules for students' behavior, sometimes in very limited consequences. I believe in restorative justice, but students should be held accountable and learn what appropriate behavior should be. This is an ongoing conversation between teachers and the admin teams, communicating with each other in terms of consequences for behaviors, and whether we're using restorative justice or whether we are, using the different rules that are established in our school handbooks. Teachers want to know more in terms of, what's being done. And again, this has been shared with the admin teams. We want the staff to feel safe and to feel that the rules are being followed and that sort of thing. So school morale, teacher and school culture will definitely be a priority for all administrators on the district and building level as we move into the fall. When we look at a sense of belonging, again, this goes to social emotional well-being and a feeling of safety and a feeling of, bringing everybody back together within the buildings. All staff established professional goals around SEL for students last year. And this has been a priority, and it'll be ongoing for a while in terms of, as we really get accustomed to hopefully moving things forward. As we moved into this year, we thought we'd have more of our back to better than normal that we spoke of very often, and we unfortunately were not able to do that. So we're still working on this goal and trying to prepare our staff and give the staff the skills to work with our kids to develop this sense of positive school culture and belonging. This is the elementary students, and we asked the question, how do you feel about my school? Positive, meaning they feel very safe and positive about their school, or negative. Obviously, on both graphs, we see a lot of green, but there's definitely some room for improvement. We want our students to love their school. We want them to have a connection with at least one adult. The question on the right, I think, is very important and something that we're going to look at very closely moving into the beginning of next year at all levels. We want to make sure that all kids have a connection. We'll work with the principals and the staff to make those red pie pieces even smaller and non-existent. But this will definitely be a priority moving forward. In the secondary, we checked on extracurricular activities, who's involved with them, because obviously that's a huge part about kids feeling connected to their school. And again, the question on the right is, how do they feel about having trusted adults in the school who they can go to for help? Although, we say sometimes how, kids get older and they have more responsibilities and they tend to be, they ask their parents to sort of give them some autonomy. And we want to make sure that they don't become too isolated as they grow older in middle and high school. So again, we'll definitely use this data to ensure that every student feels connected to at least one adult in the building. Whether it's through homerooms, advisory, the SEL activities that we do throughout the year, we're continuing to work on that, and we'll, obviously include the counselors at both levels in all of that work. In terms of the extracurricular, obviously the hope, we want to get back to full strength with the extracurricular activities. Not all of them, we're able to run from the start of the year. So we want to, we'll continue to monitor that and encourage students to become involved and try to offer as many as we possibly can in a lot of different areas. Because again, that's a great way for kids to stay connected and to build some school spirit. The elementary and secondary parents, again, this simple question: my child likes to come to school each day. Again, we want all kids to love coming to school each day, but realize that this could depend on the day, it could depend on the level, and it could depend on a lot of different factors in a student's life. As we move forward, we know that the need for connection increases, and we'll continue to explore ways, again, that we can explore more extracurricular activities and have our teachers and faculty build stronger relationships with the kids. This could be done through a lot of different activities, social events, and more teacher-student interactions. If you see from the quotes I shared here, the one on the right actually says, get parents back inside the building for volunteering and eating with their kids. Again, that happens mostly at the elementary level, not so much at the middle and high. Zero connection to the school, time to let parents back in for a better sense of community. This is definitely something that I know we want to do. And hopefully that if all things continue to move in a positive direction, we'll be able to offer more opportunities to bring parents back into the school in a variety of different ways. And the one on the left was from a parent whose student transferred in. So it was an interesting perspective. This person shared that they moved to Groton for a new job, and their son has truly reaped the benefits of the move more than they could have imagined. And that they made the transfer to a new school fun, exciting, and welcoming for him, which again is really important for us with a lot of our schools dealing with a lot of transitions for a lot of different reasons, whether it's military-based or job-based or other job-based. We want to make sure that we are a welcoming environment for new kids as well as the kids who are homegrown in Groton. So that was a nice quote to see, and those are good. It's good data to see, and we want to continue to move in the right direction. So this slide shows you one of the more pressing issues that we're going to address in the upcoming school year. Culture and climate took big hits for a number of reasons. Combining of staffs, new administrative teams, the return from COVID not going as smoothly as we wanted to, high absentee rates, which caused strain on the staff that were there. The fact that we, at least at the beginning of the year, we could not have large gatherings, so staff meetings were happening virtually, that sort of thing. So this will definitely be an area of focus for admin teams, like I said, district-wide. The quotes there are symbolic of many that we received in the survey about morale not being high overall. The one on the right talks about the middle school combination with bumps in the road, but things smoothing out. We definitely saw a change. As the year went on, we did see some things working and some things smoothing out, while others by the end of the year were sort of hitting a wall in terms of stress and anxiety. And so it's definitely something we've heard. It's going to be a priority next year. We're going to work with this, like I said, on a building level as well as a district level to provide the best working environment for our staff so they can provide the best learning environment for our kids. Our DEI work, you've heard a lot about what we've done, or what our vision is and what our plan is for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so we wanted to check in with kids and parents and staff about how they feel. They feel respected. How do they feel we're doing with our work as we complete year 2 of the 5-year plan and head into year 3? Our elementary students, this was a new question as well. And we've already begun our efforts to fill our libraries with more books that reflect our learning communities. But it was a simple question. Does the school have books with pictures of children who look like me? The one on the left is early elementary, like I said, K-1-2, with the upper elementary 3-4-5. And these efforts will continue. This was something that we started increasing the second half of this year. So we continue to work with our library media specialists to ensure that those books are on our shelves that are representative of our entire school community. We are also continuing to review our curriculum and the literature within it. On all 3 levels next year, we'll have some work, taking all of the work that we're doing with culturally responsive teaching and now bringing it into the classroom and into our curriculum work. So we are looking forward to seeing these graphs change as the year goes on. In terms of secondary students, the question on the left, I feel the adults interact with me in a respectful manner in this school. And then on the right, again, asking about instructional materials that reflect different cultural backgrounds, ethnicities, and identities. We see 89% of the students feel respectful interaction with the adults in the building, which is fantastic. I think, obviously, we'll continue to work on that. And the one on the right is, goes back to exactly what I said about the elementary school. There's work to be done with providing culturally relevant instructional materials and books to best reflect all the members of our community. And we'll continue to do that, working with the library media specialists and working with our, with our curriculum and working with our DEI committee to continue to move the work forward. One of the quotes I found here that was relevant: I enjoy coming to school. My teachers and peers treat me with respect as I strive to treat them with respect, which is something we hope we can spread through all of our levels. Our parents, their views on whether the school is respectful of the diverse and inclusive community of learners is, we see on the right, my child's school encourages students to take challenging classes, no matter their race, ethnicity, nationality, and/or cultural backgrounds. You heard earlier this year about the middle and high school's plan to increase enrollment in our upper level classes. So there's definitely some work to do in that area. One of the quotes that I put up there was, my children take all honors and AP classes, and I do not see many students of color in these classes. That was something, again, that we were aware of and that we tasked the middle school and high school admin teams with coming up with a plan. And that, again, that was shared earlier a few months back. And so we are hopeful that these percentages will change. And again, moving beyond the quote in the bottom left, we could definitely have more anti-racist education beyond just learning about Martin Luther King Jr. And again, we are, like I said, reviewing our curriculum and trying to incorporate more education into our curriculum with more diversity to include more than that. So again, we like to see the parents' perspective and that they feel pretty positive about how we respect our entire community of learners. And again, the graph on the right didn't show us anything we didn't know, but we've already started the work to help improve that. And in terms of staff, we see, our building fosters an appreciation of student diversity and respect for each other. And on the right, our building fosters an appreciation of student diversity and respect for each other. The one on the left is our elementary. The one on the right is our secondary. So the staff perspective, sort of mirrors the students in the belief that our buildings try and foster this appreciation. It's also evident here that we need to continue to work to meet the needs of all students, including those from socially or economically disadvantaged groups. As I've said, we'll continue to look at our curriculum, our instruction, and our communication efforts in order to help build stronger relationships with our families. All right, and finally, professional development. We didn't look at this last year. Personally, I have a personal stake in this as I try to help organize a lot of the professional development, but it's something we always want to be relevant and impactful. We survey all staff after every professional development day and get the results back to the building principals as soon as possible so they can provide the most relevant PD to our staff. Our belief is that we can always improve, of course, and we know PD is a huge part of building our teachers' capacity. And basically the questions that we asked the elementary and the secondary is whether or not the PD that we're offering is meeting the needs to have them be successful in their position. And as you can see, there's work to do to match our PD to our teachers' needs. For the last 3 years, there has been fewer choice as in years past, and that's due to COVID. Obviously, there weren't as many workshops to offer. There weren't as many people coming into the district to offer workshops. We were actually giving teachers more time and trying to give grade levels more time together, subject areas more time, and the buildings more time. Our hope is to return to more choice as we move forward. We are tying district level PD next year into our DEI goals, and we'll continue to provide time for buildings and teachers to plan for their own personal growth. And a couple of things we're going to be doing in the future is incorporating a new software as we move forward with our teacher evaluation process. As that becomes clear with the state, we are going to secure a software that's going to help us tie professional development directly with the areas of need identified through our teacher evaluation process. So that's going to be tremendously helpful in saying, okay, at the end of the year, we'll be able to see across a building or across a grade level what the areas of need are, and we'll be able to really plan directly to those areas of need. So that's an exciting prospect down the line. We've also heard from staff and we've asked, we're going to make sure that principals have agendas out delineating the day as they're planned. Teachers want to know exactly what they're getting from their building level professional development, as well as what time they'll have to plan their own. Sometimes that happened this year at the last minute, and teachers were given the time, but they weren't given the time to plan out the day. So it didn't become as useful as we had hoped it would. So we're going to do more advanced planning and make sure that those agendas and the time is better delineated, ahead of time, so teachers can plan better for their own personal time. So just to summarize, I like to look at some takeaways. And again, these are the ones that we're going to talk with the principals about and that they're going to base some of their goals around. Around communication, I mentioned the communication subcommittee will use the data that we've collected to improve district-wide communication. Principals will continue to explore ways to strengthen the home-school connection, and then building leaders will create ways to improve internal communications. So staff feel that they can approach administration with concerns, ideas, and issues. In the areas of safety, all levels will look closer at the data to help improve feelings of safety within their classrooms. Like I said, there were questions that really delineated what areas of the building kids felt most safe and least safe in. So we'll look at those and see how we can address those. Counselors on the secondary level will explore ways to connect more often with their students. And building leaders will continue to dialogue with their staff to develop policies and procedures to ensure greater feelings of safety within their buildings. In terms of takeaways from that sense of belonging, post-COVID, again, buildings will explore more ways to build community within their schools. They'll also explore more ways to increase the number of students involved in extracurricular activities as we're able to offer more. And they'll develop strategies to ensure that all students have a trusted adult in the school to seek out when needed. That's a priority. All schools will also make culture and climate a priority when setting building goals for 22 and 23. And then for diversity, equity, inclusion, we'll continue, on the district level and the school level in conjunction with our library and media specialists to explore ways to provide more literature that reflects the cultures, races, and ethnicities of its community. The district's going to audit, review, and revise curriculum through an equity lens, and all data will be looked through an equity lens as well. And we will continue our efforts to encourage students to take challenging classes, all of our students, to increase those numbers in our advanced classes. And again, in terms of professional development, as I just said, we're going to try to provide the best PD that meets the needs of teachers to help improve their planning, instruction, and assessment, so they can meet the needs of the school, of the students. And I know that was a lot, and I'm sorry to take up so much time. But again, this is an overview, similar to what we did last year. There's so many different ways to break down this data, and I can make it available to you in any way, shape, or form, along with Tom. And I'm sorry, Denise is here also. Like I said, she worked with us on this. Tom is not here because he's probably getting in a nap time, if he can, with his new baby. So we do plan to, like I said, we've broken it down by building for the principals. We want to look at this, again, through an equity lens. So we'll break it down that way. But if there's any data here that we didn't cover or something that you want to know more about, please feel free to reach out to me, and we can look at this, throughout the summer and leading into next year. And again, our plan is to have the principals here in the fall to tell you what they're doing with this data and how it factored into their plans, their school improvement plans. All right, I'm done. Thank you. I know that was a lot.
I think that that's going to be very helpful is, we've been kind of taught by Susan, it's sort of like, so what, now what? So, specifically, I think the stuff that kind of came up, I would want to know how each one of the building administrations with your support is planning to address, how to address the concerns that were raised, or to make it better, or to enhance the stuff that people were thinking that was doing well.
Yeah, I think it's important that they're here to answer your questions, and I didn't think tonight was that night, but I think as they develop their plans over the summer, they'll have a clearer picture by the time we return.
Are there any questions for Phil about Dean?
Yeah. So one is a comment. I noticed, obviously, first of all those graphs look like they were drawn by somebody who's enjoying a martini, because they all look like olives with pimentos. Something about the shade of green.
I think you see what you want to see, Dean.
I suppose. I haven't had a good stiff one in a long time. Anyway. So I noticed the graphs that had quite a lot of pimento in them. Mm-hmm. When it talked about staff and how they felt about being able to approach administration, it doesn't surprise me. I'm not saying that staff, faculty, and administration should be at each other's throats, but there is, if you will, a natural sort of antipathy. It's the labor management divide. I'm not altogether surprised that there is a certain level of, yeah, well, I don't feel all that comfortable bearing my soul to the administrators. After all, I'm a teacher, he's a principal, so et cetera. So I think we're always going to have a little bit of that pimento there. So I wouldn't, you're going to spend 95% of your effort kind of trying to close that 5% gap in the end. One of the things that I found interesting was that the books contain people that looked like me. Beyond my elementary school, which is a special situation, frankly, I think I was probably as the kids called it, the only freaking Greekin in school. And although people are happy to lump me in with everybody else with my skin tone, 100 years ago, we were not considered kin. Dr. Piazza, you know what I'm talking about. Depending on how Italian you are, we were sort of in the same boat. Did I see anybody that looked like me in any of the books? Anybody that I could identify with? What did I do with questions about who are you? What are you? Do you know my father when he fought in Korea on his dog tag? They put J. You know why? Because they asked him what he was. He says, I'm Orthodox. There was J, C, and P. So he had J on his dog tag because they figured Jewish, right? So my life in school, and partially as an adult, has been a lot of explaining about who I am. So for what it's worth, my schooling experience and my adult experience has been, oh, you're the Greek guy. We tend to escape behind the Italians, and this one's a lot more you guys. But there are parts of the country where if you're of Italian descent, you're marked out. It's like, hey, he's Italian. Around here, it's no big deal. Pretty much anywhere we go, short of Chicago or New York, for example, it's you're the Greek guy. Say something in Greek. So for the most part, it's kind of a mild circus act, but I have been very conscious my entire life of being not like the others. So all this said, I don't think it's crippled me or interfered in any way with my schooling or my development that I didn't see a lot of folks like me or sense that they were like me. The only thing I had in common with Scott Thomas or Greg Miller or whoever is I was closer to them in skin tone than maybe some other kids were, but that didn't mean that I got to play on their reindeer games. So I managed somehow. So my point is, I am skeptical of the amount of concern and effort put into ferreting out books that aren't altogether representative. And also I'll point this out. Shouldn't we be encouraging empathy? Must I necessarily be more empathetic, sympathetic? Should I feel more of a connection with somebody who looks like me or who you think they should look like? And I'm not talking about black Barbies and white Barbies and any of that. How many subdivisions are we going to go into? Are we going to make sure we show any Greeks in there? And how would you do that? Are there going to be any Jewish kids? Are you looking for books with Filipino kids in there? Are you looking for books with anybody with a head covering? I mean, what are your subdivisions? What are your criteria other than less Northwestern European and more everybody else? Because again, from my point of view, it doesn't matter. Nobody in the books was like me, whether it's history, anything pictorial. I'm fine with it. I know that most of the world is not me. I'm okay with that. So just respect me for who I am. Give me my space. I give you your space. But the focus on identity is just, to me, seems very overwrought these days. And I'm concerned with teaching kids and enforcing an identity that actually is going to be a barrier to being empathetic, to being able to work with other people. I really don't want to see the place balkanized. And I come from the Balkans. I don't want to see it balkanized. You know, my kid came home when he was in high school. He came home and he goes, you know, white people suck. Where did you get that from? So that's all the culture that he was in. We really don't need any of this stuff. But I'm going to go off on a tangent, but you guys probably already know where I'm coming from. I think there's an overemphasis on a lot of this stuff, but you will do with what you do. It's just a shame, and I hope the kids are strong enough to understand that, you know, the picture in the book doesn't necessarily have to look like them, because it's not. None of them look like me, and they won't. So my tirade.
Okay, so Dina, I appreciate your willingness to sort of express your side of the view, and I think that one of the things that having a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens is for all of us to become culturally and the social term racially more accepting, and also having more empathy for the human emotion, the human condition. That there is research out there around BIPOC, and then realizing that if we are educating children and we don't look like the children that we're educating, that we need to have that the research is out there in terms of where the grade levels fall. And you and I'd be more than happy to have a cup of coffee and we can kind of argue about that. But I think it's very important, and I applaud the district myself. I applaud the district for being able to really have a very clear vision. We have a lot of work to do, but have a very clear vision on where we need to go in terms of inclusivity, diversity, and equity. I'm going to recognize Andrea, and then I'm going to recognize Bev.
Bill, I'm interested in what you said about the staff development, professional development. Throughout my career in Groton, we had national speakers come to us and do workshops with us. And that was so inspirational. And it got conversations going that were, on both sides of whatever issue they were talking about. And I'm wondering, I just don't understand what the structure is now. Is it strictly at the building level, or do we have funds for those national speakers that I talked about?
No, we definitely have funds for that, and we are going back to that this year. I think the pause was just hit, was pushed on that during COVID because people weren't coming, they weren't traveling. But we have at all levels next year. We have Cornelius Minor coming to work with our middle school. We have Dr. Sonia Cherry Paul working with our elementary on culturally responsive teaching. Dr. Kim Parker is coming to work at the high school level to do some curriculum audits and work with our staff. So yeah, and I think it's important. And Dr. Cherry Paul is going to speak at our opening, one of our opening day meetings. Because I agree with you. I think it's important to bring everyone together to hear, the same message and to inspire. And I think that happens with these with speakers who come from outside too. And the good news is they're not just going to speak and then go away. They're going to speak and then they're going to continue to work with us throughout the school year. So we are pretty excited. And I guess we are going to go back to what it used to be a few years, pre-COVID, where we're bringing people in and people do have more of a choice. So hopefully teachers will respond to that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Beverly.
Thank you, Kim. I have
Absolutely.
to say that I totally disagree with Dean, and I'm on the same page as you are, Kim. I mean, just because years ago we didn't have a lot of diversity in our books doesn't mean we have to continue down that path. We know better now. We know better. That's why we're trying to get more diversity in our staff, but even on the Board of Education. We know better now. So I totally disagree with Dean, and that's all I'm going to say. I like to have coffee with him too to discuss this, because I don't know.
Thank you, Beverly.
I won't bite.
Any other questions about the climate survey? Matthew?
Yes, thank you very much. I'll limit myself to two. I saw that the data was largely aggregated to include the middle school and the high school together. I'm sure there was a reason for that. I'm not sure we can disaggregate it, but if we can, do you see any usefulness in doing so? Particularly when we have large, what's your vegetable that was in the olive?
Pimento?
It's the olive and the pimento.
Thank you. The ones, particularly the ones with pimento in large amount, it would be very interesting to look if all that pimento came from the middle school or the high school, or if it was evenly distributed. I think there's, particularly we had four things that stood out. The safety is perceived by secondary staff, belonging, DEI, and professional development. It would be very, in my opinion, very useful to I think we could tease out a lot more information.
Yeah, and Matthew, I could tell you, we absolutely have done that, and we can do that. For tonight, it was strictly,
fine.
I'd still be talking if I broke it down. We tried to combine the elementaries and the secondary just for time's sake.
That's fine. That's
given
fine.
the
It was just an
demographics.
observation. I think it's very interesting document, and the worst one could say is that it's a great way to start. The second question I had was regarding the takeaways. As I read the takeaways in what you presented, they were mainly goals, and I did not find anything in the goals that I disagreed with. But I'm hoping that the comments, because I didn't know that there were going to be comments at all until you presented a few of them. I'm hoping the comments will give us some indication of specific path, and the takeaways we develop will give us specific pathways to achieving these goals. And I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, yeah, and the comments were all shared with the building principals too. So they have, you know, they definitely go into more detail as to areas that need to improve. So they'll definitely be using those.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next iteration of the report. I think we got a great start.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, let's move over to the special education. And I believe Denise, that would be you. And it's good to see you.
Yes, good evening, everyone. It's nice to be with you. Just going to share my screen. I want to thank Nadine Macklin, our elementary and early childhood supervisor, for being here this evening. I think that a lot of our teachers, we invited them, but I think a lot of them are taking a well-deserved break. So Nadine, please feel free to chime in as I go through the presentation. We're here tonight to share with the board an exciting initiative through the State Department of Education. It is an initiative that is bringing a new IEP to all districts in Connecticut and a new database from which to write the IEPs, which is called CT-SEDS. That's the acronym. The acronym stands for Connecticut Special Education Data System. Just scroll down. The state has partnered with a group called Public Consulting Group. The acronym is PCG, and they've worked with PCG for the past year, I think longer than a year, to develop this system. The purpose and the value of this new system is it will provide one statewide web-based IEP and data management system at no cost to school districts. There will be support in terms of the development of IEPs that are high quality and compliant with state regulations. The state will have immediate access. By the state, I mean the Bureau of Special Education. They'll have immediate access to all of our data. So our office staff will have less time that will be dedicated to preparing reports and uploading reports to the state website. That will result in timely and accurate reporting and reduce the burden on local districts. There will be a document repository that will assist districts when students move from one district to the next. And it will ensure secure access to student data. And we're really excited that it includes a parent portal, which our current system does not. So all parents will have a username and a password. And when a document is finalized, they will be able to go in and they will be able to see that document.
Can I just interject regarding that point? One of the other exciting features of CT-SEDS is that we will be able to present this information in 10 languages, 10, I believe it's the top 10 languages spoken in Connecticut based on PSIS native language data, which I feel will definitely increase the access and understanding of the IEP for parents.
Thank you.
Currently, I believe we just have Spanish.
We do.
Yeah.
Thank you. So included in CT-SEDS is obviously primarily our IEP module. That's an individualized education plan for students who have received special education services. It also has a capability of assisting us in our Medicaid billing. It will include a services plan module. This is an abbreviated IEP that's delivered to students who attend parochial schools or private schools within the district. There will be a multi-tiered system of support, which is the SEL side of SRBI. So there will be a SRBI management module. Section 504 for students who have an accommodation plan. These plans will be created in CT SEDS. Our gifted and talented students will be identified through CT SEDS. There will be access for surrogate parents. We will enter any incidents of restraint and seclusion here. There will be a due process module. Jody in our business office will report our excess cost grant through this module. Nadine will work with Phyllis in the Office of Early Childhood, reporting our preschool data. We will work through any referrals for new students referred to special education, as well as our students who are reevaluated every 3 years. And lastly, there will be a parent portal. And as I said, we'll report our early childhood outcomes data. So it's going to encapsulate a lot of different programs and have a lot of different uses. And this is just launching July 1. Next July 1, there's going to be even more in terms of progress monitoring. So this is really just a start. So last year, CT SEDS was being built. This year it was piloted. And as of July 1, it is going to be open for statewide implementation. In terms of the pilot, 22 districts piloted in February. These are the districts that piloted. We did not pilot the IEP module, but you'll see coming up, we piloted the 504 module. The goals I alluded to a little bit before would be to create a template that would improve the quality of IEPs and that's easier for practitioners to use and understand. Connecticut has the probably not very positive reputation of having a very complicated IEP document. So we're really hoping that this new IEP and program makes life easier for us. We know that it's going to be a very probably stressful and challenging transition. And I'm going to address that a little bit later on in the PowerPoint. So this is one of the first steps that we all in the state took to help our teachers and our administrators feel more comfortable and kind of wrap their arms around this new IEP. We've all participated in training. It started in January for the districts that were not a pilot district. All of us in the district and every district in Connecticut attended virtual sessions. They were 8 virtual sessions, or they were 2 full days of in-person training. We had trainers that provided synchronous instruction, and we have a bank of asynchronous or pre-recorded modules to go back to and use as for resource. We used Canvas, which is an online classroom, and we have slide decks that we'll use as resources once we start to dig in and use the system. So the synchronous components were the IEP quality training and the progress monitoring. And then the asynchronous modules have been looking at some of the individual components of the IEP, like supplementary aids and services. This is where we record para support, consultation, secondary transition for our students in middle school and high school, preschool, and then working with parents. So what are our next steps? Well, our district is, like many, we have been awarded 2 expert navigation trainers per building, plus the director. So we will begin a 4-hour virtual session in July and August of training. The state is awarding a $500 stipend to each of our 15 trainers. These building-based trainers will provide PD to the department on August 26th when we return to school. Again, we did participate in the 504 pilot in March. And we are renewing our current IEP program through Frontline for the 22-23 school year with limited functions, but it will support us in the transition. And this is the website if you'd like to go in and see the new IEP and some of our resources. This is a hyperlink. And actually, I wanted to add in here, in terms of next steps, we're also offering summer curriculum work for all of our teachers in special education. They are working this summer on previewing some modules that have been developed by the state. They are pre-recorded videos on each section of the IEP. For example, how to write or create a PPT invitation, how to record services on our service delivery grid, how to navigate through supplementary aids and services. So it's a little bit more of a screenshot of CT SEDS and walking staff through how to navigate those sections. So we have about 11, 12, we have about 15 modules that the staff are working on this summer, and they are being paid through curriculum writing. And we're hopeful that it will give them the confidence and increased familiarity coming back to school in September or in August to help them be a little bit more, open and not as stressed with this launch, because it is quite a heavy lift. But again, we will be keeping Frontline for certain functions. We're going to gradually transition to CT SEDS as students have an annual review or as we get a new referral. And we're working together to develop our expert trainers in each building, along with the admin team, myself and the supervisors at central office, so that we can support the buildings as well. Nadine, did you want to add anything at all?
No, I think you summed it up beautifully.
Thank you. And the PowerPoint was created by our Bureau Chief, Brian Klimkowitz, and then districts were encouraged to edit it to make it more specific for our district. So I'm happy to take questions if anybody has any.
I do.
Andrea.
Please, the thing that I'm concerned about is that, well, maybe you can answer this question and you'll get rid of my thinking, is that it's going to be to preclude individualism. I'm glad that I'm going to be able to look at the template, but is it in such a way that, you have to check off the box, and maybe the box doesn't really, it sort of says what you mean, but it doesn't really say what you mean. So that's my first question. And the next one is there a place to take minutes, and would those be able to allay what I'm fearing?
Well, those are two very good questions. So the first answer is right now the minutes are optional. So the state conducted a statewide survey to see if districts wanted to continue having minutes optional. And the answer was no. So the new IEP will not have a section for minutes. There is an option for districts to add an additional sheet for minutes, but it would have to be added for every single student. You can't say, we're just going to have minutes for this meeting and not that meeting. So we are going along with the state recommendations for the first year, because we thought, there's so much new learning, and this is such a new procedure, that we want the teachers to become familiar and comfortable with the components that we have to implement. And then we can do an assessment next year and decide if people feel we should be bringing in some optional components. So
Okay.
that's where we are with the minutes.
So right now, And you've examined the grid, right? The boxes to be checked off, as it were. Yes.
Well, we haven't seen CT SEDS. It's coming live on July 1. That's creating some of the angst because they're literally, still working on it. Right now, they're uploading our information that we've been sending them, every district, so that we won't have any IEPs in the system because we haven't had any annual reviews yet. But all of our data will be in what's called a document repository. So we can go in and we can see archived data. But we also have Frontline for next year. So we have our archived data available in a more familiar format. But what we have seen, we've seen some screenshots in all of our webinars, and it does seem to be a very intuitive system that will make this a much easier process. But we're all really anxious to get in there and start seeing it. We did the 504 pilot, and it's just arranged a little differently than Frontline. So I think once people become familiar with the way it's presented in tiles. So you kind of click through each tile, and then you complete each section of the IEP as a different tile. But no, it does have most definitely the opportunity to be individualized. There are some drop-down menus, but there seems to be more text boxes than drop-down menus. Would you agree, Nadine?
Yeah, I just have to echo what Denise said, just in terms of the individualization of this new IEP. There's a lot of opportunity to support any decisions with a lot of progress monitoring data, both in the development of the goals and objectives, as well as in the present levels of performance. So there's going to be a lot of student information that, case managers and service providers will have to populate in this new document.
I'm just afraid that it's going to take the human element out of it, make it more robotic. So I'd be happy if Nadine and you and Denise, you could come back to us after you've had an experience with this and tell us how that, just to allay my fears.
Yeah, we certainly will. CPAC, which is the Connecticut Parent Advocacy Center, has been presenting parent sessions. And we would like to, for our goal next year in terms of, communication, as Phil had said earlier, we really want to present some parent sessions. So once we have the teachers, on a roll, so to speak, we're going to start to focus on the parents, because right at the start of the school year, the parents really won't have a need to go into the parent portal because there won't be any documents there for them to view. They won't be viewing documents in the parent portal until we actually start to hold meetings for what are called annual reviews. And what we've done on the advice of the State Department of Ed is any student who had a meeting due in September, we held it in May and June. And that was so this, and that is so this, that's so the staff have time in September to work in the program and become familiar and proficient with it. So we'll really start holding PPTs in earnest in our new CT SEDS in October.
So there were no annual reviews. Is that what I'm hearing?
In
No.
September.
In September.
We
Oh, I
held
see.
those
All
in
right.
May and June.
Okay.
Beverly?
Denise, when do you hope to have this fully implemented?
Well, we've been preparing since January. So the full it won't be fully implemented until June 2023. That's when every student will have an annual review document in CT SEDS. But teachers will start to become more familiar with the process, we're hoping, by the holiday break. We're really going to spend August and September developing our training plan, implementing training, offering support, and doing, small group trainings and support as needed, so that folks feel comfortable beginning October, going in and using the system.
Is this new data system, is it parent friendly?
Yeah, as far as we know, it is very parent friendly in terms of the parent portal. It's quite easy for parents to navigate. Again, it's another username and password, but that can be reset. And, you know, hopefully we can have in-person meetings in September or in October so that we can actually show parents at the meeting how to go in and retrieve, you know, how to view the documents.
Okay, and
But they do have they do have like screenshots, Beverly, little training guides for parents.
okay, and there's not a lot of acronyms on the portal for parents where they're not going to understand what does they know what IEP, but I'll just throw that out. What does IEP stand for? You'll have all that so they know what those abbreviations stand for.
Yes, yeah, we have not seen it yet, but the document, you know, doesn't use acronyms, you know, necessarily. It's very clear. It's actually clearer and it's less cluttered than our current IEP. So I think the goal is that it will be easier for parents to read and understand and, you know, not be as intimidated by, because our old IEP was a bit cumbersome.
Thank you, Denise.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I have one question, Denise, and this is sort of coming off of Beverly's comments about parents. Is there a way that our parents that their children are on IEPs and will be needing to use this new data system, could they be hooked into any CPAC training so that they could become really familiarized with the system, not only through what training you will do with parents, that they can also receive training from the parents. I just did an acronym. The Connecticut Parents Advocacy Center, CPAC, is so that the parents can have access to that.
Yes, anytime CPAC sends us flyers, they've had a series of workshops for parents throughout the spring. We post them on our website and send them out to all parents through School Messenger.
Okay.
And I know the sessions have sold out. They've reached capacity very quickly. I'm hoping that CPAC will offer more sessions because they've been very widely attended.
And will these sessions also be held in a different language, like Spanish or whatever? Do we know?
Yeah, I can't remember if they were offered in Spanish or not.
Okay.
But I know, as Nadine said, right now we can translate for free in Spanish, but we have to use our interpreting agency to translate the document to other languages. But next year, starting July 1, all documents will be able to be translated for free through CT SEDS, and as Nadine said, those 10 most common languages.
Okay. Any other questions for Denise?
I just have a quick one.
Sure.
Denise, this comes at no cost to the district?
Correct. So it will be a cost savings for districts. Next year, we have chosen a closeout renewal of our current IEP system. So we're not paying full price. It is 85% of our original license. And that is so that we can continue to use that system for meetings other than annual reviews and initial referrals. So if we have to just make a revision to a meeting, we can continue to use Frontline as we transition to the new system. However, after June 2023, there probably will not be a reason for us to keep Frontline in terms of access, because every student will have a document in CT SEDS and will probably only need Frontline for a read-only version, if we even need it for that. So that will be a cost savings.
Good question, Bev. Any other questions? All right. Nadine, it was so good to hear your voice. And Denise, it was so good to see you and also hear your voice. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Phil, summer happenings. District.
Yeah, just a quick update, because I've mentioned all these at previous meetings, but our STEM camp started this week. It started today over at Charles Barnum. And pictures actually were just shared with me from Ben Moon, who's helping Christina post with that camp. And I'll make sure those get shared with board notes. That'll be running this week and next week. Most of our other offerings start next week after the July 4th holiday. Our extended school year, our special education extended school year, summer school is at Mystic River. And that's running throughout the month of July, starting July 5th. The STEAM summer camps also start. Those are at Groton Middle School. Those start July 5th as well. There's one session from the 5th to the 14th and another from the 18th to the 28th. Our regular Fitch High School Summer School is also starting July 6th through August 5th. And then the Aluminum Falcons are helping run a robotics camp. That's happening at Thames River. That starts later in July. There's a beginning, an intermediate, and an advanced level running from July 18th to July 29th. And those flyers went out, and I think that was posted on our Facebook page as well. So lots going on. I plan on visiting the STEM camp tomorrow over at Charles Barnum. So I'll just continue, to give you updates, and we'll share that in board notes as well as to how things are going.
We also have the summer food program, right? And I think that they're doing a pretty good job, at least on Facebook, to making sure that those sites get noted for our food,
Yeah.
breakfast and
And I
lunch.
don't have those written down in front of me, but yes, and I had mentioned that in previous meetings that food services are providing some type of food, whether it's breakfast or light snack at all of these different camps. And you're right. There are locations, and we'll make sure that those get out. Like you said, I think they have already on Facebook for all of our families to pick up. Is it breakfast and lunch?
We're
Or is it
getting,
just-
we're getting
yeah.
breakfast every day. We're not getting lunch,
Okay.
but we are getting breakfast every day. But I
Great.
believe Ernie usually has the food distribution hubs where families can go for lunch.
Right. Yep. and We'll make sure those locations are known by everyone.
Any questions? If not, let's go to Ken. Hello, Ken.
Hello, everybody. So I am going to share with you attachment number 2. If I can find it. Maybe I'm not. Here it is. Got it. So this is attachment number 2. This is our updated object code summary through June, I think it was Thursday of last week. And you'll notice that our projected unexpended is very, very low. And this is we have done almost all the work, or we still have this week to go. But we have included the funding for the plan / study for the redesign of the culinary arts classrooms at Fitch High School, as well as the equipment trailer for maintenance that we've discussed before. And so we feel like we are going to come in just at budget, just under budget, really, 1,516 under budget. And so, let's see. Yeah.
Are there questions for Ken about that? Like 1,500? Wow. Beverly. Bev?
Up the share just so we can.
Oh, okay. Ken, professional services that we under budgeted for 267,000. Is that where the design for the culinary arts program is?
Correct. Yes, that as well as we had some additional costs in the IT department, as well as the plans for the field house at Fitch High School as well. contributing to that under budget.
Okay, and did we under budget for heating and electricity? That was like 277,000.
So the heating costs, we didn't, we did pre-buy our heating oil, but we did not buy enough. So we were definitely over budget as when we were done with our contract. Unfortunately, the rates were very high. And then as far as electricity, we had anticipated turning over those two schools that have been closed earlier than we did. We turned those over on April 1st. We had budgeted that those would get turned over in, I think it was October 1st. And the newer schools are also, they're using more electricity than we had anticipated in the budget. They are in energy efficient buildings, but they still draw a lot of electricity for all of the heating and air conditioning that goes on in those buildings.
And what about the tutors? What's that, number 64?
Yeah, we were over what we had budgeted, but we are under budget with the paras. There was a little bit of as we went through the year. I don't know if you recall at the beginning of the year, we were having trouble getting enough paraprofessionals before we increased the rate on January 1st. To compensate for that, we did utilize some tutors to fill in some of the holes, and so we are over in the tutors, but under in the paraprofessionals.
Okay. Is it possible that you can tell me how much we spend on consultants a year?
I guess, what do you mean by consulting? Like
say for the design for the kitchen at the Culinary Arts Program, that's a consultant.
Yeah.
Anybody that we don't have as a permanent employee or a professional service that we're just contracting with for a short period of time. Can you get that to me? You don't have to give it to me today.
Sure. Well, it is that I will. It is that professional fees line. That's exactly what that is. But it includes many other things that, like for instance, the cost for the SROs are included in that line. So I think maybe what you're asking is for maybe more of a breakdown on that professional services line, so we can see what the different types of consulting that we're paying for.
Yes, that'd be great.
Okay.
And my guess is that probably is something that not just to share with Beverly, but that sounds like that would be a good thing to share with the board.
Okay. Yep.
That would be great. Good questions, Beverly. Thank you. Any other questions for Ken on the, oh God, whatever the form that he just talked about, this form. Sorry.
Number two.
Summary.
No, number 2, the summary. Oh, thank you. All right. So insurance.
So attachment number 3, I'm not going to share it because it's sideways and I don't know quite how to make it not sideways, but hopefully you have that in front of you. So for this is through April of 22. And you'll see that we are at 103% of projected for the month. And on a year-to-date basis at 94.7%. So, we had anticipated that this would start to pick up. It was below budget or below projections at the beginning of the year, and now it's coming in a little bit higher, and that was anticipated. These costs, they are kind of cyclical. They do get higher towards the end of the plan year because folks start to meet their deductible, and so more costs need to be borne by the plan, as well as we had anticipated some additional costs due to postponed appointments and procedures. So I think this is where I still think we're in relatively good shape. We're at 95% of projection through the year. I anticipate that May and June will come in very similar to what April is, maybe a little bit higher, but we'll still end up, I think, right at or maybe just right below the projection for the year. So I think we're in relatively good shape.
Any questions about the insurance? Right. Ken, it was good to see you. Thank you.
You too.
The next is the Director of Building and Grounds. Where's Sam? There is Sam. Hi, Guy.
Good evening. It's good to see you all. I had to text Mr. Kennedy, Dr. Kennedy, to figure out my new laptop as to how to turn on my camera. So Mark tried to help me, but that didn't work. So fortunately, Dr. Kennedy was available, and it was a simple matter of pushing a button. So not that I'm totally mechanically uninclined, but I was able to do that. So here I am, and I'm going to report on the facilities. And first of all, I think Dr. Piazza already mentioned all the items, all the things that are going on in the school, so I don't want to be repetitive, but we do have the camps, parks and recs, summer school, and of course our staffs are doing their annual deep cleaning of all classrooms and the rest of the facilities. So in addition to that, the custodial staffs are moving teachers and other staff members from room to room or building to building. So all of those things are going on presently. At Fitch High School, we have a contractor coming in the next few days. We'll be repaving the cafeteria courtyard. That's the area between the old business wing area and the cafeteria, which puddles up quite a bit. So hopefully we're going to be able to grade that and get some of that puddling out of there and also make it a safer. We had quite a bit of cracking and lift of the old pavement, which was certainly at least 40 years old. So we'll be doing that over the next course of the next few days. Also at the high school, at the greenhouse, Ernie and I are working on ordering heating units for the greenhouse so that we'll be able to use the greenhouse all next winter to continue with Laura's work in the greenhouse. At Groton Middle School, there are the two major projects that we've talked about in the past. Again, the solar panels. We're still regarding the PPA, which is the power purchase agreement. That is still in the hands of the attorneys. They're going back and forth with some wording. And we feel pretty comfortable that that's going to be resolved fairly soon. The materials for those solar panels will probably not arrive. Right now, we have an estimated time of arrival sometime in September. If we can get them on the roof on a weekend or on a Tuesday afternoon, or when the kids are not in the building, the work can actually go on during school. Unlike some of the other school systems that I had checked with previously, we are doing a different type of mounting system. So we won't be drilling through the roof to mount the units, only to bring the electrical line in when that happens. So it's just a simple one line coming through the roof. The rest of the time it's a ballast system, which is a weighted system on the roof, which will not make as much noise as a full attachment to the roof. In addition to that is the athletic field light project that we are working on. Rick and I are working with Musco Field Lighting presently. We're working out the details on that. We were able to deal with them directly through Sourcewell, which is a bidding process so that we're able to deal with them directly, sort of like the state bid list. So many school systems use them, and we're able to do that because our business offices have worked with them before. So again, with athletic field lights, it looks like material, again, would not arrive until late August, early September. And that project, again, would take place during school. But of course, we would fence off the areas that they're working in and make sure that it's safe for the kids to use the rest of the facilities while that work is going on. Thames River and Mystic River Magnet Schools, I walked with the architect last week in Arcadis to go over the final resolutions regarding landscaping. It was agreed by all parties that they will actually come back again at the beginning of September. I think that a meeting was set up for September 1st, but they will come back. We'll look at, there are a couple of plantings that they need to do regarding trees that didn't make it. And there are some grassy areas that hopefully will come in as we run the watering systems anyways. And hopefully those will come in and they won't have to reseed in the fall. But if they do, they will do that in the fall, which is the better time to reseed those areas. At Northeast, Catherine Kolnaski and Charles Barnum, of course, all those other activities are going on, the camps, et cetera. And as I said previously, the annual deep cleaning is taking place at those schools as well. We also have a tree house at Catherine Kolnaski for the summer. I was over there this afternoon. Lots of kids running around having a good time on a rainy day. So inside today. Mary Morrison, while that's still our building, we will continue to operate that. And we are prepping that for the arrival or the move of robotics and ECAT into that building. We're going to use one classroom for ECAT to do their work. Nadine Macklin will be there as the administrator on a part-time basis, I believe, maybe 1 or 2 days a week. So I have an office set up for her. And of course, robotics is ready to make a move at any moment. We are just waiting for some more materials to come in so that we can finish doorways off. And then the final item will be the final inspection by the fire marshal before we move anybody into the building. And then he will do an additional inspection after robotics is in. So those things are taking place. I think that's about all I have for now. Other than that, just kind of hanging around. But regarding the food services, yes, Ernie does have, as Denise said, some programs will get breakfast and lunch, and other programs will just get breakfast because they leave before lunch. But those other sites are set up, and we will get those out to everybody in the near future, so everybody knows where those sites are for the summer program.
Anyone have questions for Sam? Sounds like you guys are really not doing much over the summer. Beverly?
Sam, are you moving ahead with the solar panels without getting a purchase agreement solidified?
No, we have to wait until the power purchase agreement is signed before we can move forward with that. But that will be the next step, and we're just waiting for the attorneys to make the final determination regarding wording on those. So
Okay.
They've been going back and forth over the last couple of weeks. Rick and I have chimed in pretty much on a daily basis, and we expect it to be finished up hopefully this week, and we'll get that signed and move forward.
Okay, because I heard you say when the solar panels were going to be delivered, and I'm thinking, well, why are they delivering them? We don't even have the agreement.
No, we haven't ordered them, but we do. We've been following. We've been talking with the manufacturer, and that would be the earliest we could get them, provided we get this contract signed in the very near future.
And the paving up at the high school, you
Yes.
hired an outside person to do it. It wasn't possible that the town public works department or maybe even the city public works department could do the paving first? Doesn't seem like a large area, but I don't know.
We did talk to Public Works, and they have a lot of projects going on. They wouldn't be able to do it on our time frame. So that's why we went with an outside contract.
Okay. And last week I was at Thames River Magnet School for a meeting with Groton Community Meals, because they're going to be serving meals out of that school on Wednesdays. And I noticed a bucket in the hallway, and I looked in the bucket, there was water in the bucket. And I was wondering, is there a leak in that building somewhere?
I know there was a bucket that had sand in it, near the front door.
Nope, this was closer to the cafeteria.
I'm not aware of one, but it doesn't mean that there have been a couple of areas, but it doesn't mean that it's a leak in the roof. It could be coming through a ventilation unit or something like that. I'll double check into that, but I was in the building today. I didn't see a bucket in the hallway, but I'll be a little more observant when I go down there tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, Sam.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Just kind of following on with what Beverly had asked earlier, I'm wondering if when Ken provides the breakdown of professional services, if we can get the details on how much we've spent in legal fees reviewing this solar panel project. Thank you.
Any other questions? I don't think, is Ken still on? So we just need to
Yeah,
make sure.
no, I'm here.
I'm sorry, Ken. Okay, so you got that.
Legal fees for solar panel project.
Yes,
Got it.
thank you.
Yep.
All right. If there's no more further questions for Mr. Kilpatrick, we're going to move on.
Can I ask one thing? Maybe Mr. Kilpatrick could send us everything he's gonna do over the summer in writing. He can send it to us.
How about, could that go?
Like all the projects they're gonna do over the summer.
So that could be added to the minutes?
Yeah. That could be
Okay.
added to.
Good idea. All right, so we're gonna move on to the community reports. Guys, thank you for hanging in. We're running a little bit behind, but I feel like we're doing some really good stuff. So policy, Andrea?
Yes, we met on the 12th of, sorry, we met at any rate. And we have policies that are coming to the board tonight for, we recommend that the board consider them. And then we're looking at, and that one of those is the communications. And then we were looking at the eligibility to participate in interscholastic athletics. And we adjusted the gifted and talented language, and we're hoping that it will pass to move forward through the board. We've tabled right now advanced course programs and challenging curriculum. So we're very busy.
Okay, thank you. Curriculum, Liz is not here, and I do know that the major piece is that we are going to be voting on the meteorology course that's being presented to us that has gone through curriculum. And just by the way, it does have Liv's full support. I did contact her to make sure that she was comfortable with it being added onto the agenda. Phil, is there more that you would want to say to that?
No, only that I think it was met with approval by the whole committee. I did reach out to Terry Hinkle to see if he could join us, knowing that the summer is kind of spotty. And he said he would if he could, and he's not here. So I'm sure, I don't know if he's on vacation or what, but he did a great job presenting it, I thought, at the subcommittee meeting.
Great, thank you. Finance and facilities? And it says,
Yes, so we met, I'm sorry.
go ahead, Jay.
Yep, we met, let's see, it was June 7th. We discussed the solar panels, the field lights. Dr. Kennedy gave us a detailed update on the one card project with the Groton Library. He also discussed the new Chromebook agreement and any equipment needs that he would have going forward. Ken discussed the end of year financial process. He also mentioned a paper shortage, which is affecting everybody. Maybe that will push the idea that was floated in the 1970s to moving toward a paperless office. We discussed electric buses, and we also discussed those school punch lists, which basically were a lot of landscaping items. And that was about it.
Thank you, Jay. Communications, Matt, do you want to take a stab at it?
Well, I think Phil would do a better job, frankly, because he was the one who brought the preliminary communication survey to us.
So I guess that's actually what we can just say, right? Is that we met today prior to this meeting, and there was a communication survey, and Phil and Rebecca did a nice job at presenting. And basically, the purpose of the survey was to look at how parents wanted to have communication sent to them. And they're, I think that they're going to disaggregate the data even further so that we can get an idea, or the district can get an idea about what is the best way that families need and want to have be communicated to. So that was the purpose of that.
Thank you.
All right. Negotiations. We were in recent communications, and I believe that we are in resolution that needs to be ratified, but part of what we had not finished up, and I was not part of these, and so Jay or Andrea, if I am messing this up, please silence me and talk. But part of the teacher contract was that we had not gone over the stipends for all the extracurricular activities. And I believe that a plan has been put in place that Lori and her team put together, along with acceptance from our board members that were present. And it's now needing to be ratified by the union, and that we should be able to vote on that once that has been done. So I think that has happened. Jay, silence me.
No, I just want to add that Ken also worked very hard. There were some, I don't know what we want to call it, maybe equity issues with the different activities and how teachers were being paid through their stipends. And Ken and Lori worked very hard with the union to sort of distribute. In other words, there's a specific amount that has been budgeted for these activities, but then we have to determine how they're spread out over the activities. So they worked very hard to bring that to us.
Beth, I see that you have, it's good to see your face. I would recognize you if you have something further to add.
It's just that we're under review right now. We will take it to our membership in September. We thank the board for working with us and to have a more equitable and a fair schedule. See, it was a carve out. It wasn't something that we overlooked. We deliberately carved it out to set it aside so we could give it the attention and the time that it needed.
So clearly I need a village to raise me. And so thank you for for correcting the language, and I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
The town council, the RTM and Board of Ed liaison, that actually was something that was being head by Katrina, and that it is just stalled. And I think probably some larger thoughts need to be put together about how we want to go about structuring that. So there has not been a meeting actually since this current board has been in together. So January. AGSA, GEA Board of Ed liaison, I also wasn't there. The scheduling just wasn't working for me at the present moment. Andrea or Jay, do you have anything to add to that? I think we were really kind of heavily on the stipends, if that's not correct, with the carve out. Beth, can I recognize you?
Oh. Or Andrea can jump in too. We held our final meeting. We held our final meeting in May and are looking forward to continued meetings. We basically discussed how the year went, how COVID impacted teachers and students. It was a more difficult year this year than the hybrid teaching and teaching from home. And we talked a lot about mental health for students and staff, and how we can focus on that in the future.
Andrea, how did she do?
As always, excellent. She gets an A.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Beth. I love and appreciate our collaborative work. Groton scholarships. Hmm,
Isn't that Liz? I think that's Liz.
I think you are right. Athletic fields, has there been any other movement, Jay?
The Athletic Fields Committee itself has not met. However, there was a visioning meeting, which was open to everyone in town to determine what might be done with the former Claudchester School property. And so now I believe they've taken all of those ideas and put it online and are continuing to ask for feedback on that.
Thank you, Jay. Trails,
Trails Committee met earlier this month. Lots of interesting stuff, none germane to the school district.
thank you, Matthew. The library, which is something that Matthew has requested that we add, since there is a lot of synergy that's happening between the library and the Board of Ed. And so Matthew had asked so that we could just keep on hearing updates. So Matthew, do you have any updates about the library?
The library has received applications for student representatives from both Fitch and Grasso. Their interviews are in process. We hope to have, I'm hoping that the library board will make a decision on which or both they want to have on. With regard the one card project, Jennifer Maley, who's the director there, really expressed real appreciation with the work Clint is doing. The challenge with the cards seems to be that the two computer systems don't handshake yet, and they're writing code. One other thing that's coming up, at the next library board meeting, they're going to discuss whether there could be some collaboration with the school district. Even if the library, the one card is in effect in time for September, it will only be rolled out in the high school because they want to get the bugs out of the system before sending it everywhere. And since the high school kids are the ones who have the easiest means of access to the library in terms of transportation, there's some consideration of whether we could have collaboration on outreach to parents in the elementary schools and middle school, because parents can now register online for library cards for their kids. So that may be coming to you next month. That's it.
Thank you, Matthew. State Council of Military Children,
We'll meet in the fall.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm moving us on to the action items, which is part of the consent agenda, where all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion, and points of clarification will be allowed. I will entertain a motion for the consent agenda. Thank you, Dean. Can I have a second? Matthew?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. I couldn't see. I didn't know if you were waving. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain? That motion has carried. The board would love to recognize Raveline Lanzer, who has donated a flute to Thames River Magnet School Music Department. We would also like to thank the Alliance Energy LLC through the ExxonMobil Educational Alliance Grant has donated $500 to Charles Barnum Elementary School to be used towards any purchases made for maintenance and support in math and or science education. We would also like to recognize Dr. Calypso Gonti has donated the following equipment to the Fitch High School Art Department: the Epson Stylus Pro 388 color inkjet printer at a $3,300 value, and a Kaiser 5513 RSIO copy stand with camera arm at a $2,090 value. Thank you very much for the generous donations to all. We're going to move into our old business. And Matthew, would you be willing to read the motion for number 1, please?
Thank you. I move adoption of policy P1112.3, access to information, as a second reading.
Can I have a second to that, please?
Second,
Thank you, Bev.
Beverly.
Thank you. Any discussion? Oh, Dean, sorry.
Sorry. I may have missed the meeting at which this was first presented. I don't remember anymore. What prompted this change? I mean, I see a couple of dollar figures changed, but other than that, what was the impetus for this? Is this just to keep it in line with state law, or is this to clarify, or what was the reason?
Andrea, do you have an answer to that?
Dean is correct. It was to clarify and bring things up to where they should be. It's just a matter of fine tuning the language.
So this is not the case where the district, for example, has been peppered by, what people might consider nosy Noras and, creating havoc with our, okay.
No, it was mainly making information accessible to the public who needs it, and a way to go about that more formalized.
Right. The question, I do have one question though, about the 25 cents to 50 cents per page. I'm sensitive to this because for quite a number of years, law firms would charge round figures for copies, but in fact, it turned out that the figure was often higher than the actual cost of the firm. And there have been rulings that have said, you can't profit off your copy machine. If you're a law office, you can charge people the cost of copying, but you can't just charge, for example, 25 cents a page when it costs you $7. So we're moving from 25 cents to 50 cents a page. Do we have an idea of what our cost for copying?
No, actually, I don't. I don't know if Ken has that, but there was also talk about providing a thumb drive instead of the pages.
Right.
And very often, one of the problems is that people will say that they need these things, and then they never come and get them. So.
Well, the other issue I think that happens that you see with FOIA requests is people are not quite sure what they're asking for. They have a general idea, or they think they're making a specific request. And they don't realize just exactly how many pages of response that generates. And then it can become kind of sensitive. There are, of course, lots of sensational stories of people elsewhere in the country getting bills for $10,000 because they had no idea. But there is a provision here that says that, if it's going to exceed $15, then at least I'm hoping that people will be told ahead of time, by the way, this is going to be cost you a lot more than you might be thinking of. So, I mean, do we read this as, do we understand this as if it's going to go above a certain dollar amount, not only will they be told to, that people will have warning, because again, people have no idea when you say, well, I'd like copies of, they may be thinking something's 100 pages and they'll pay whatever for it, but they might wind up with 10,000 pages in response. Well, here you go.
So we as a board get to approve the policy. The regulation is how sort of the district wants to put it through. Is that correct, Andrea?
That's my understanding.
So we could most likely, not most likely, so we can request that the staff be clear about the charging once someone has offered that they need freedom of information, specifically if it's going to be multiple pages so that people don't get stuck with a large bill.
Yeah, so estimated cost of copying request is $15 or more. Prepayment of the estimated fee by the requesting party shall be required. Actual final fee, I suppose it's at that point that the district would be telling somebody, by the way, your bill will be.
Yeah.
But what if at that point, the response is already underway? And by the way, you're at $100 or $500 and counting. Please send check to
Right.
the district. You're like, whoa, 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 I didn't know it was gonna be that big. Well, too late. We've already copied a ton of documents for you.
So are you suggesting, Dean, that the regulation is not clear about that? Because once again, we need to approve the policy, not necessarily the regulations.
Well, why we have attached the P and the R. Every time we vote on these things, we seem to be approving the P and the R. So
You're right.
if all we're doing is approving the P, then let's just stick to page 1. And let the R have its way with people, and we can intervene from on high. It's necessary.
Right.
But I think we are being asked to approve the R. So,
Okay.
um,
So what is your suggestion to make it different, Jean?
that's what I get for having a day job. But there should be some language in here. Again, I know this is a second reading and this is maybe just, too late. But there should be some language in here that gives the requester a heads up before a lot of work is done. I'd like to think that as just common courtesy, people who've requested are not going to be surprised with the bill, that somebody on staff would say, boy, this is going to be big, let's let them know. Or even if it's not huge, if it's not thousands of dollars, because I don't know what people are thinking they're going to be paying. I think people believe that when they make the request, they'd be given the heads up, just so it's going to be a lot of dollars. Are you sure about this? And people may say, well, I wasn't looking for every soup to nuts. I was looking for, could you narrow your request? There'd be a colloquy of some sort to narrow this down. But so it doesn't have to be in a policy. It really relies on human interaction and how we treat each other.
So you're asked, so the request is to make sure that people give clear information about what the cost is, which is part of
Yeah,
it.
ahead of time before the printing presses get going.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Matthew, I saw that you had your hand up. And then I'm gonna
I guess I'm a bit confused. It says prepayment of the estimated fee, which means somebody will be given an estimate and has the choice of prepaying or not and canceling the order. They're prepaying, which means the presses haven't run, so there would not be any substantive surprise, the way I read it.
It could be read that way. It could be read that way.
But thank God for lawyers.
Right. It's not what everybody says.
Beverly?
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing Matthew said. When I read it, I took it for, if it's gonna be more, if it's gonna be a lot of money, more than $15, we'll let them know before we start printing. I just thought it was common sense. But on 4C, it should be by the requesting party. The Y is missing from that. On my copy, it is anyway.
Thank you.
Nice job.
And that was the intent. That was the intent.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the policy P1112.3, access information as a second reading, all say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? That motion has carried. Dean, would you be willing to read the motion for number 2, please?
Certainly, move to approve policy P6145.1, otherwise known as eligibility to participate in interscholastic athletics, as a first reading.
So I'm willing to go to number 2, but I'm really wondering if you would do.
Oh, I'm sorry, my goodness. I take all that back.
Okay.
Wow. What the heck? Yeah, it's all right. So I move to approve the meteorology and climatology curriculum.
Can I please have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Andrea. Phil, would you be willing to speak a little bit to this?
I did get an email from Terry. He was having his computer died. He's out of town, so he doesn't have a charger with him, and his phone isn't cooperating with email, Zoom. He says, again, obviously, above and beyond what I saw at the curriculum subcommittee meeting with, and if anybody knows Terry Henkel, he has a passion for this and a skill that he's passed along to all of us since we've been here with pinpoint accuracy in his forecasts. And the thought of him passing on his knowledge to our kids is pretty exciting to me. But I can't wait to sit in on this class, hopefully. He says, he just said, his comment said, my course is to bridge students' understanding or knowledge of global warming with the fundamentals of meteorology. Some of the fundamental questions we hope to answer. If there is global warming, why did 80% of Japan experience over 15 feet of snow this past winter? Why do weather computer models or meteorologists get their forecasts wrong? I would hotly anticipate the answer to those questions. Currently working on guest speakers as well. Sorry, I couldn't make it. I mean, again, all I can say is, my experience with him in this area and his presentation, he has a passion for it. I guess this is one of those courses that have been talked about for a while, and it just took him time to get it written. So, like I said, I'm excited for the possibility, and I think, Dr. Ackerman and who else was there? Matthew, I think, and I know Liz passed on her thoughts as well. So
I have to add that when I saw that, I thought, oh my God, where's the coffee? But after hearing him, it's so exciting. I want to go there myself.
Are there any other questions from the board about this, Beverly?
Phil, is there any equipment needed for this course?
he did not highlight any in any of the documents. I'm not sure what it does say students will be using long and short range weather models, Doppler radar, and satellite data. I think that's all available online. Analysis and interpretation of national and local weather charts and diagrams. So no, I guess I don't know if guest speakers would come with any cost, but I don't know what kind of, I think he has a lot of connections in the field. So the hope is, and obviously there's funds put aside for those sort of things in the building budgets. I can double check on that for you though, Beverly, and get you those answers.
It sounds like a great course though.
Yeah, it does.
Could be required for all board members as a condition of working.
Weather forecasting.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, Hearing none, all those, the motion to approve the meteorology and climatology curriculum, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Oppose? Abstain? That would be Dean. All right, that motion has carried. Beverly, would you be willing to read the motion for number 2 that Dean so well prepped you for?
She needs no prep. No prep from me.
Bev, would you be willing to do that or no?
Oh yeah, I was reading it. I forgot I was muted.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve policy P6145, .1, eligibility to participate in interscholastic athletics as a first reading.
Thank you, Bev. Can I have a second? Can I have a second? Thank you, Matthew. All right. Andrea.
It's just to bring the participation up to CIAC requirements and expectations, that's all.
So is this kind of what Dean said before? Is that we're just kind of like updating it and putting it to the new language?
Yes, there's going to be a full credit of I'm sorry, a full credit for a total of 5 credits. And the administration will be able to determine the students' eligibility to participate. That's it.
Bev?
On section B, there's a typo. I think that word that should be the. And the only problem I have with this policy is where it says the principal shall publish eligibility criteria. I really don't feel like I can vote on this policy unless I know what the eligibility criteria is before I vote on a policy. It's like I'm just having faith in the principal, and I can't do that. I need to know what the eligibility criteria is going to be before I vote on the policy.
Okay. And is that in the regulations anywhere? And, that's the other question I had of Erica. I said, where are the regulations? And she said, they're not out yet. So we don't have those. So we don't know that. And one of the problems that I had was that it's in the beginning, it said something about the criteria would be presented to those students who are interested. And I said, how would you know who's interested if you haven't presented the criteria? So you're right, Beverly. I think you're right. And I think probably that might go in the regulations.
So it sounds like, does this need to kind of, okay, I'm going to
Yeah.
recognize Dean and I'm going to recognize Matthew.
Thank you. Yeah, again, what prompted this? Because again, the original text said must meet the criteria established by CIAC. So it still says that, and then it says plus one additional full credit for a total of 5 credits. Everything else seems to be kind of like a rejiggering of existing language, but what was the impetus for this change?
It just came to us to be changed.
From
It
on
was
high?
But may I?
Yeah, by all means, help me out here.
Okay. My age is showing. I don't remember the gentle person who spoke to us last time, but it was, I recall it being explained to me, unless I'm fabulating, that the district wanted to, I believe it was Susan, though correct me if I'm wrong, we wanted to, the criteria for CIAC is 4 credits, have a total of 4 credits, and we have some performance qualifications too. You have to be passing at a certain level. We wanted to add a 5th credit because we felt that there were some students for whom athletics is so important that we wanted to use that as a lever to accelerate their commitment to education. And it was further explained when I questioned that we understood that if we were asking more of students than the CIAC for minimum requirements, that we had an obligation and would in fact provide extra support to any student athlete who was having any difficulty. So we were promised that the support would be there for anyone who was struggling. And that's the best of my recollection.
You're right.
So it
Does
sounds
that coincide with yours?
Yes.
So did the athletic director bring this toward with you, probably with, I would assume, Denise? No?
Mr. Romano was not present at the meeting.
Okay, all right.
As far as the access to the regulations, which was requested, the regulations, I understand either are or will be available either in the student handbook and on our website. And that clearly be the responsibility of the athletic department to make sure every athlete knows the regulations. If an athlete should fall below the academic standard, he or she would still stay on the team, still practice with the team, but would not be able to compete until their grades came up, and then would be immediately able to re-participate. They would not be cut out of any membership of the team or participation in anything other than interscholastic events. I hope that clarifies for you.
Well, that's the regulation that we don't have in front of us. So that would have been cool to have that.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable actually, even as the chair, bringing this without the regulations. I'm looking at it.
So are you suggesting that we table this and you bring this back for first reading with the clarification around the eligibility criteria that Bev had requested, and then also the regulations.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not happy with this, but I'm wondering, and Matthew, correct me if I'm wrong, was there a reason that this had to come in terms of a deadline?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay,
You know,
So-
if we get the information, we can bring it to next month's meeting and that will be ready for September anyway.
and I'm not sure that this isn't the reason that we brought it. That, we thought we would bring it forward and then have it come back. I'm not comfortable with it, so I'm suggesting that we take it back and take Dean's concerns into consideration. We need the regulations.
Dean?
Yeah, I'm curious to know from the athletic director, what effect this has, positive, negative, does it represent a challenge? What sort of challenge does it represent to the athletic program for the school? I mean, not to have things revolve around athletics, but I would like to hear from the folks what this might mean, if anything, to student participation in athletics.
Okay. All right, so to move, Joan, just to have something tabled, do I need to vote on that?
The one who did the first and the second, they can withdraw.
Okay.
That's my understanding. That's how it's been done in the past.
Okay, so Beverly, are you willing to withdraw your motion for acceptance of the first reading?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and so Matthew, are you?
I'm willing to withdraw as well.
Okay, so we have withdrawn that, and we are going to be moving on to new business number 3. And I see Denise is here, ready. And Jay, would you be willing to read number 3, please?
Sure. I move to approve policy and regulation 6172.1, gifted and talented, as a first reading.
Andrea, I see that you have district staff here. Denise, would you like her to do
Yes.
the discussion? Okay. Thank you, Denise.
Okay, hi again, everybody. So we brought this policy back to the committee and we made edits in terms of noting gifted and or talented throughout the policy. And then we really focused our attentions on the regulations, and we tried to format the regulations in our typical format. And that was the feedback from the board. You'll see that we have on the regulations headings. So instead of it looking like a chart or a kind of a teacher or admin worksheet, we now have the first heading being the definition of gifted and or talented. Same information, but formatted a little differently. Then we have the criteria in the next section for the gifted and the talented. And then on the last page, we have our identification procedures, and we have our curriculum and instruction. So we've added that a PPT meeting could be conducted as a group or as an individual meeting, but we've added that would be based on parent preference. So if the parent wanted an individual meeting, that would certainly be granted. And then under curriculum and instruction, we noted the importance of differentiating instruction to meet the needs of gifted and talented students. And then we noted some examples of some special programs like independent study, dual enrollment, subject acceleration, STEM classes, and visual, musical, and dramatic arts classes, as well as before and after school enrichment clubs, to give some examples of ways that we differentiate instruction and provide choices for students in terms of their interests and learning styles and their preferred modes of expression. So that's basically the changes.
Questions or comments from the board? Beverly.
Thank you, Denise. Do we have a gifted and talented program now?
Well, that's exactly why we put in the regulations, curriculum and instruction. We don't have an identified gifted and talented teacher. We're providing differentiated instruction to students through the general ed curriculum. That could be through curriculum extensions, accelerated text, math groupings that are on ability, and some of the other examples that I gave.
Okay. Well, I like this policy better than the last one.
Yeah.
So thank you, Denise.
Thank you. You're welcome. I think that your feedback was really well-grounded.
Other comments?
Excuse me, Kim, who seconded this motion? I never heard. Not to say it didn't happen, but I never heard.
Well, Jay did the first.
Yes?
I may have not asked for a second. Do I have a second?
I
think
second.
Jay seconded it.
So Beverly has
second.
seconded. Beverly
Okay.
is,
Thank you.
Or Bev, one of the two.
thank you, Beth. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those to approve the policy and regulation of 6172.1 gifted and talented as a first reading. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Oppose? Abstain? That motion is carried and ready to go for second reading. This is the part of the agenda where we talk from letters and communications and comments. Matthew, I'll let you go.
I was just going to thank Denise. For someone new on the board, I really appreciate her professional development. It helped a lot. Thank you, Denise.
Oh, you're very welcome, Matthew. It's my pleasure.
Matthew, would you like to continue on with any communications or letters?
I've gotten a communication from two separate individuals, hoping that we get our school bus routes finalized well in advance and try to avoid some of the rectifications we had to go through this year. That's it.
Right. Andrea?
I had some communication from a concerned citizen, and I passed those all on to Susan.
Thank you. Dean?
I am somehow locked out of my account, so I can't get those communications. Don't know why, but I should approach tech and I haven't gotten around to it, but
Right. Thank you.
sorry.
Bev?
I had a communication about the hiring of the world language consultant, but I'll talk to Susan about this communication.
All right, thank you. Jay?
Yes, I just wanted to join with Matthew in saying thank you to Denise Doolittle. I know she works very hard, as we saw tonight, just a little bit of what she does, in addition to all of her student interaction and everything. So, and again, thank you for reworking this policy in your spare time. I also wanted to mention that I attended the graduation for Fitch High School, and I was very impressed with the speakers, and it was really a flawless ceremony, and it's just always a very positive experience to see our graduates going forward.
And congratulations to the member of your family that graduated.
Thank you.
So my stuff is more board related. So July 11th would be a committee of the whole meeting. I am proposing that we that meeting has been canceled, and I am proposing that is a time that we go through our board self-eval And then also begin the process of the superintendent evaluation so that we can we're a little bit behind, but actually not as behind as we have been in the past. And I know that's a heavy lift for one night. But I propose a certain way of us doing that, to making sure that we just do the work prior to coming into the meeting. And I will be sending out an email kind of detailing that. Andrea has been holding the reins for putting together the evaluations, and she and I are going to meet tomorrow to kind of finalize what that could look like. So I just want to let people know that though we're not going to be meeting in a committee of the whole meeting, we'll be meeting in executive session to do our board self-eval and to see how much we can do around the superintendent eval. So please, please pay attention to that email. And if you guys can give me responses back, that would be very helpful. I also am going to send to you a bullet form that Joyce has put together for filling the vacancy for the board member. She kind of took from a previous time when we had a vacancy, and I'm going to throw that to all of you as well, and probably in the same email. And also just to let you know that Rebecca Bias said that she would be more than happy to help us to get this, to get the vacancy out to all of her contacts. So that would be part of the paper on our Facebook, and also website. So I just wanted to let you know that those things are coming and on their way. So if you looked at the committee of our advanced planning, July 11th would be canceled, and in its place would be an executive session for us to meet. And then we're down to suggested agenda items, and I don't know if anyone has any. Oh, Dean, sorry.
Yes, I mentioned this before, and Susan very professionally told me to have it as an agenda item, and that is Wither Latin.
Latin, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said first.
Wither Latin. Where did Latin go? I know we talked about it, and its praises have been sung and the practicalities have been upplayed. And it was sort of left as an open question, but it's now become a reality, which is that if you're already taking Latin like my daughter is, then great. So she's going to have to take summer school, basically. But in the future, anybody interested in taking Latin from the get-go, that's off the table. That's what it looks like. So I raised that one other time, and I was told we'll have it as an agenda item. So there we are. I'm asking for an agenda item. I think Rita might want it as well, but.
Yeah. Andrea?
Yes, I wanted to make sure that we get on the agenda of the information that Susan, or I'm sorry, that Denise is going to get regarding that new format, so that we have a report back from her, and I suppose in the fall.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And Nadine.
Okay. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right. All right. Good night, guys. Thanks. We pulled it off. 8:20.
Night, everyone.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.